Dank times, Danker thoughts, sweet vibes and taking it sleazy. The dankness is taking over, nonsense is dancing through his mind. Oh, the dankness is taking over. Dank times, Danker thoughts with Angelo Grosso.
Welcome all to another episode of Dank Times Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo Grosso. Episode 56. And I got to clarify something from either last podcast or two podcasts ago. The top artists, musicians since 2010. I can't believe I forgot an artist that would be in the top 5, possibly top 4. In fact, this band would be up there with Churches and the 1975, but slightly edged out by those two. And I don't remember who number 4 was. Was it Perfume Genius? Travis Scott? I don't remember. But anyway, the band is St. Lucia. I've loved them since the first time I heard them on, I believe, KEXP, another KEXP band. Now, St. Lucia is also the name of a country in the Caribbean, so it's not that one, it's the band. In fact, I'm going to look them up now so I can give you a quick bio. By the way, they've been making music since 2012, so they fit right in the parameters. And they're South African, but based in Brooklyn. And a good album that I would be introduced to, the first one was so good. But I would say their second one, Matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, from 2016. This is the banger. This may be top 10 albums for me in the last 10 years. It could be top 8, top 7, fuck if I know, but I'm telling you, every single track is a certified Grosso banger. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, you just have zero taste in music. So, apologies to St. Lucia. Is it pronounced Lucia or Lucia? Do they have a spelling on here? No, they don't. Oh well. But it's kind of a pop rock, indie pop, definitely rock, indie electronic, definitely synth pop. They kind of sound like kind of the synth pop music from the 80s and early 90s, but updated a little bit. I mean, there's definitely music that you can kind of tap your foot to, shake your head to, whip your hair back and forth, I can't listen to probably 10 tracks of theirs without twerking or shaking what my mana gave me. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they're from South Africa, I don't hold it against them. So yes, apologies, St. Lucia, I forgot about you. So, let's keep on moving to kind of a big day in sports. I'll get to the Giants story in a minute, but we've got some crazy things happening in the NFL today, which is there was a rookie defensive tackle, Jalen Twyman, was shot 4 times, and that his aunt was arrested. Oh, wait. No, he was going to his aunt's where he was shot. His agent says wrong place, wrong time. And talking to him today, he's going to be okay. That's all that matters. So that's cool. But how crazy would it be? You're just driving on your way to see your grandmother and you just get pop, pop, pop. But he's okay. Kind of crazy. Former Seahawk Frank Clark is run afoul of the law yet again. He was arrested for illegal possession of a firearm, which I don't know if this is the first time or not. I would have to look up the history of Frank Clark, but what's funny to me is that he had a open duffel bag with an Uzi inside of it. I mean, does he think he's some 90s action comedy villain? Who the hell's driving around in a Lamborghini SUV? That's what he was driving, with an open duffel bag with an Uzi. I mean, is this Miami Vice, motherfucker? Moving on to Tom Brady. He's in the news today for remarking that a undisclosed team was passing on him going into last season, which we all know Tom Brady went from the Patriots to the Broncos, and all he did was win a Super Bowl in his first year with a first team. God almighty, how I hate and love you all at the same time, Tom Brady. But he was on a TV show on HBO called The Shop Interrupted, and they were asking him about free agency last year. He didn't name the team. I guess you could watch the show. They maybe will give up the team, but once they air the show, that's going to be all over the media. They released a promo regarding his 2024 raid to free agency. Brady says this about an unnamed NFL franchise. One of the teams, they weren't interested at the very end. I was thinking, you're sticking with that motherfucker instead of me? The team to which Brady is referring to, we don't know. It is well known, though, that Tom Brady was connected to a handful of teams. But one team, he knew the starting quarterback pretty damn well, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. They had Jimmy Garoppolo, which they still do, even though they just drafted his eventual replacement. LaFonda, are you fucking with the cables? Get out of there. Trying to pull the plug on me? I'm not that bad. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo was under Tom Brady for a couple seasons, so Tom Brady would know that motherfucker. So how funny would it be if it turns out the 49ers passed on Tom Brady, which Brady proved correct. Garoppolo was horrible last year. Of course, he was injured, but it's just funny. I may actually try to watch this episode because I like stupid gossip like that. So maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is the unnamed motherfucker. Moving on, we now have our first openly gay, active, starting NFL player. The Raiders' Carl Nassib, who I know quite well from me playing Madden way too goddamn much. I always tend to pick up Carl Nassib. And he's usually ranked 77, 78. When he was really playing well, he was an 81 overall. But anyway, Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib came out today, making him the NFL's only openly gay player. Now, there is a caveat to that because Michael Sam, a couple of years ago, was technically the first one in 2014, it says here in the article. He was drafted and played in the preseason, but that was it. He never made a regular season roster, and he never played in an actual NFL game. So Nassib, I believe this is his third or fourth year, and he's been a starter since he was a rookie. He's not a great player, but he's a starting pass rusher in the NFL. I wish the Seahawks had him. And this is how he came out. I just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay, Nassib said in a video he posted on his verified Instagram account. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but I finally feel comfortable enough to get it off my chest. I really have the best life. I've got the best family, friends, and a job a guy could ask for. I got it. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know I'm not doing this for attention, but I think representation matters. Nassib then announced that he is donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project, a nonprofit organization that focuses on suicide prevention programs for LGBT youth. This is great news, and I already see a bunch of players and the head coach and the manager of the Raiders all come out in support. Al Davis' son, Mark Davis, said, hey, if he's happy, I'm happy, which is the attitude we all should have in this country. But moving on to the big story of the day, and this also involves politics, where we're going to head next. The Supreme Court rules against the NCAA in a landmark antitrust case. Now, I should preface this by saying that this is related to universities compensating student athletes. But this is not the same as the NCAA paying student athletes to play their sports. There's a little difference here. The reckoning is coming. It hasn't arrived yet, but it's coming. This is from Pro Football, which is a NBC Sports website. On Monday, a unanimous U.S. Supreme Court, when the fuck are they ever unanimous, ruled against the NCAA on the question of whether the antitrust laws apply to rules restricting the benefits that any school may offer to student athletes. The outcome is narrow, but the future implications could be very broad. For now, schools must be permitted to compete for student athletes by offering educational benefits beyond, this is the big thing, beyond undergraduate tuition, room, board, fees, and books. What's not making that list? Money! Enhanced education-related benefits from a given school no longer can be regarded as prohibited by the NCAA, a rule that, in the opinion of the Supreme Court, violates the antitrust laws. Oh, they should give the Heisman back to all of the players they took it from. Reggie Bush being the first one that comes to mind. Justice Gorsuch delivered the opinion for the 9-member court, a concurring opinion, basically an agreement, but a articulation of different reasons, from Justice Kavanaugh, everybody's two favorite Supreme Court justices, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. In his concurring opinion, Kavanaugh essentially calls the NCAA what it is and what it has been doing for decades, a golden egg factory that refuses to properly compensate the geese. And this is what Kavanaugh wrote. The NCAA has long restricted the compensation and benefits that student athletes may receive. And with surprising success, the NCAA has long shielded its compensation rules from ordinary antitrust scrutiny. Today, however, the court holds that the NCAA has violated the antitrust laws. The court's decision marks an important and overdue course correction, and I join the court's excellent opinion in full. And this is where it gets good. The NCAA couches its arguments for not paying students athletes in innocuous labels, but the labels cannot disguise the reality. The NCAA's business model would be flatly illegal in almost any other industry in America. All of the restaurants in a region cannot come together to cut cooks' wages on the theory that customers prefer to eat food from a low-paid cook. Law firms cannot conspire to cabin lawyer salaries in the name of providing legal services out of a love of the law. Hospitals cannot agree to cap nurses' income in order to create a purer form of helping the sick. News organizations cannot join forces to curtail pay to reporters to preserve a tradition of public-minded journalism. Movie studios cannot collude to slash benefits to camera crews to kindle a spirit of amateurism in Hollywood. And this is where the journalist for NBC Sports puts his own bias in there, and I completely agree with him. Amen to all of that. Those words will set the stage for broader and more aggressive attacks on a system that has allowed the various universities to stuff their coffers full of cash to pay everyone involved with its sports programs except the athletes, and continue to delay inexplicably the moment at which those who deserve to receive real financial rewards for the billions flowing from their talent, exhorts, and sacrifices finally will be treated fairly. Kavanaugh continues, price-fixing labor is price-fixing labor, and price-fixing labor is ordinarily a textbook antitrust problem because it extinguishes the free market in which individuals can otherwise obtain fair compensation for their work. Businesses like the NCAA cannot avoid the consequences of price-fixing labor by incorporating price-fixed labor into the definition of the actual products. The bottom line is that the NCAA and its member colleges are suppressing the pay of student athletes who collectively generate billions of dollars in revenue for colleges every year. Those enormous sums of money flow to seemingly everyone except the student athletes. College presidents, athletic directors, coaches, conference commissioners, and NCAA executives take in 6- and 7-figure salaries. Colleges build lavish new facilities, but the student athlete who generates the revenue, many of whom are African American and from lower income backgrounds, end up with little or nothing. People, that is Brett Kavanaugh, Satan himself, if you believe CNN and MSNBC. Okay, this is why you need to get your heads out of the fucking sand and give somebody a chance. Am I a fan of Kavanaugh? Fuck no. Am I a fan of him based on his Supreme Court votes? Surprisingly, he tends to be middle of the road. He has done a few decisions that I don't like, but he's done plenty more that I'm surprised he voted in the favor for, including this one. So, what's the big deal? Well, now, like I said before I went into this, colleges can now offer on top of everything else, pay for students. So this is inevitably going to lead to, well, let's just have student athletes getting paid like normal athletes, or maybe minor league athletes, something. That's probably going to come down here in the next year or two. So keep your ears open, because this is going to be huge for all college athletes. And lastly, in sports, the fucking Mariners swept a 4-game series. I do not remember the last time the Seattle Mariners swept a 4-game series. And we didn't just sweep a nobody team. We swept the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays came in the best team in the American League, and I believe the 3rd best team in baseball. They also were the American League champions last year and played in the World Series, where I don't remember who won last year. So they are a pretty damn good team, and we swept them. We didn't crush them. Last night, Shed Long, a forgotten man who was supposed to be a second baseman of the future but has taken a long time to figure it out because of injuries and ineptitude, hit a game-winning grand slam. What a way to top off a 4-game sweep at home. In the previous games, Mitch Haniger played hero, Kyle Seager played a hero, and I don't remember the 4th game, but I'm sure somebody played a hero. So the Mariners are now 2 games above 500, which, again, I'm not focused too much on the wins this year because I want to see progress from these prospects. And for the most part, some are surprisingly coming through. Crawford and France look like they're here to stay. Mitch Haniger's a little up and down lately, but I hope he's here to stay. Jake Fraley has come out of nowhere. That Bowers played better. We brought Torrens back up, the catcher, and he's playing a little bit better. And we still get a spattering of hits from players like a Dylan Moore, a Shed Long, that I think I told you that Jake Bauer. And even though Kellenick is not back yet, Lewis is now on the 60-day DL, that poor son of a bitch. Our offense is slowly getting better. And our pitching, now that we have some injured players back, such as Graveman in the bullpen, we have looked a little bit better. Gonzalez pitched pretty good yesterday. And Logan Gilbert continues to get better, even though his last start against the Rays, as would be expected, he took a little step back because he's facing the American League champs. I'm all smiles. I am all smiles. How can you not be? But enough of sports. Let's move on to everyone else's favorite topic that I cover. Politics! Alright, these first 2 stories will also coincide with this week's Cunts of the Week. The first cunt, and this may be the most evil company in the world. Yes, worse than Amazon. Yes, worse than Walmart. Worse than Tesla. Blah, blah. You could go down the list of companies you hate. Blackwater. Those fucking assholes that are buying up all these properties so that they'll make my generation and the following generations nothing but renters. Go fuck yourselves. That shit should be illegal. But no. The most despicable, evil, villainous, dare I say, James Bond superhero level evil is Nestlé. And some of you may think, Nestlé? The motherfucking candy bar? Yes, the motherfucking candy bar. And they do so much more. I'm not going to go into all of their brands. Check it out. It is horrifying. So, you may ask yourself, why, Angelo, why are you calling a candy bar company a cunt? Because of the following reasons. Child labor, unethical promotions, manipulating uneducated mothers, pollution, price fixing, mislabeling, and the list goes on and on and on. And you may have heard about Nestle in the news lately because the Supreme Court here in good old America sided with them and another evil company, Cargill. But I can only have so much hate to go around, so I'm sticking with Nestle. A little bit of backstory here. A couple years ago, a lower court ruled in the favor of 6 men suing Nestle and Cargill over claims that they were trafficked as child slaves to farms in the West African nation of the Ivory Coast that supply cocoa to the 2 giant food companies. If you look up the Ivory Coast, to sum it up, it's not a tourist destination. That is where slavery is still happening in the country of Africa, okay? And you may say to yourself, well, surely companies wouldn't be profiting off of 21st century slavery. Ha 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 ha. What is it like with your head in the clouds? I must know. Truly, ignorance must be bliss. But, of course, Nestle couldn't stand not using child slave labor in the making of their bullshit products, that they took it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court on Thursday reversed that lower court ruling that had allowed the 6 men to sue Nestle and Cargill. Justice Clarence Thomas, oh God, don't you just want to take a shovel and writing for the 8-1 majority, okay? So I don't want to hear shit about the liberals in the Supreme Court. They also voted for this child slave labor. Here's where it gets a little gray, unfortunately, according to the fucking law. Justice Clarence Thomas said the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, where I don't remember where it was, erred in allowing the suit on the grounds that Nestle and Cargill had allegedly made major operational decisions in the United States. Thomas said the 6 plaintiffs who were from the nation of Mali and properly sought to sue under the Alien Tort Statute for conduct that occurred outside the United States. Thomas also said that the plaintiffs had failed to establish that the conduct relevant to the ATS, that's the Alien Tort Statute, occurred in the United States, even if other conduct occurred abroad. So basically what they're saying is, hey, it may or may not have happened. By the way, we totally know what happened because we have decades worth of evidence about how Nestle's been doing this. But because it happened in the safe and secure country of the Ivory Coast, we can't really tell the dictator government in Ivory Coast what they can and cannot do. Some bullshit. Paul Hoffman, the lawyer for the men, obviously were disappointed. He noted that the majority of justices in the decision agreed that corporations can be sued under the Alien Tort Statute, and is their intention that we will file an amended complaint which he believes can satisfy the court standards for making a claim under the ATS. I should really go and find out what the fuck the ATS means. The point being, Nestle can go fuck themselves. If this country, they're a global company, so if countries around the world united and just said, you know what, go fuck yourselves, Nestle, and stop buying their products, stop buying off dictators in child slave labor countries, whereas they may turn their heads and say, well, we really don't know what happens to the money once we give it to the government. Oh God, just the hypocrisy and the fucking outright lying. And you may think to yourself, well, Angelo, all of this is for naught. Nestle's not even an American company. Why the fuck do you care? Why? Because I love everyone on this planet, okay? Even the poor child slave laborers, okay? I love them even more so. And you may think to yourself, well, what can I do? Spread some awareness, I suppose, and don't just put a meme on Facebook and say, well, I did my part. You're fucking coos. Put your pocketbook where your mouth is. Oh, that's an old-timey saying, pocketbook. Who the fuck under the age of 60 carries a pocketbook? A pocketbook is like a wallet, but for your checks, I believe. Anyway, put your money where your mouth is what I'm trying to say. Don't buy the shit, okay? And if you really want to hurt the company, fucking steal. Of course, I can't promote theft. But all I'm saying is, if you steal from Nestle, it's not that big of a deal. Nestle is a Swiss company. You know, the country of Switzerland. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, because let's face real facts, there is 2 entities in this planet Earth that makes everything run. And that is the Swiss bankers and all the other bankers. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's Swiss bankers and the pedophile elite. That's really are the 2 groups. Now Switzerland, they don't even have a fucking army, okay? So Joe Biden could declare war on Switzerland, okay? But Switzerland has something that's even more powerful than an atomic bomb or even a decent military. They've got everybody's fucking money. They have all the money where all the companies don't want to pay taxes on. They hide that shit in the Swiss banks. Don't you ever wonder why Switzerland was neutral during World War II and they were surrounded by Hitler and his army, and the Germans were like, oh no, we'll leave Switzerland alone? Because they have all of the fucking money and they have secrets. They know where that money, the mass majority, is dirty, evil, money laundering money, Saudi money, Chinese money, Russian money, American money. It doesn't matter. It's money globally that they want to hide. It's Switzerland and the Cayman Islands. But let's face facts. Switzerland is run a little bit better than the Cayman Islands. Sorry, all my Cayman Island listeners. But tell you what, Switzerland, your days are numbered, baby. Bitcoin scares me even more than you do. But hopefully it brings you down. Because what's the saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or some bullshit. I don't fucking trust BTC. I don't like the Chinese manipulation. I don't like that fucking asshole from Tesla, that South African fuck. What the fuck's his name? Oh, God. Elon Musk, his dumb fuck ass. Nice hair plugs, cocksucker. But my point being, Nestlé, hardcore evil. Hardcore evil. Antifa, if you want to do something, don't go breaking windows at a fucking Starbucks. Go to Switzerland and start some shit there. Okay? So those are my first cunts of the week. Now, moving on to the other cunt of the week. It is the Catholic Church. Oh, I'm taking on everybody, baby. They are quite possibly another top evil company in the world. Because let's face facts. The Catholic Church is a business, baby. And they're in the business of God and religion and bullshit faith. There's a reason Jesus said in the Bible that religion is man's interpretation of faith, but because man is inherently sinful, religion itself is inherently evil. When something sinful is trying to understand and interpret something that doesn't have sinful, like faith, it's going to get corrupted. And when you look at those fucking asshats like Joel Osteen's and those other... there's too many of them, all right? There's too many of them. I wish COVID took out a few. But they're using it for money and power. And no other organization has used religion to that T as much as the Catholic Church. And you may think to yourself, well, religion helps people. They do help people. They do. Some Catholics do help one another. Some Catholic priests are great in the community. But others fuck little boys in the ass and get away with it and get shuffled all over the country, or even worse, get shuffled to third world countries where they don't care about such things. There's a reason there's a high number of pedophiles joining priesthood. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying every Catholic priest is a pedophile, but they probably have enough to fill up Qualcomm Stadium, whatever the name of the new Seahawks Stadium is. That's my point. They would fill that motherfucker up 5 times over. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. All I'm saying. Now, I'm not shitting on the Catholic Church for the pedophilia protection, because let's face facts. If you're in the market for a new religion and someone sells you the Catholic faith and you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe I should do some research. And you clickety-clack on your keyboard and you find out all of the monstrosity and evil and shadiness and just gruesome. I mean, ugh. There's not a word in the English language that I can use to properly define the evil that the Catholic Church has done when it comes to the pedophilia. But if you're in the market for a new religion and that doesn't dissuade you, then hey, you're a perfect Catholic. Because you can just pray away the pain. But my point being on this is that the Catholic bishops in the U.S. have just okayed steps towards a rebuke of our president, Joe Biden, who is a staunch Catholic. Staunch Catholic. He goes to Mass every Sunday. Why are they rebuking him? Let me read you the article here from the AP News. U.S. Catholic bishops overwhelmingly approved the drafting of a teaching document that many of them hope will rebuke Catholic politicians, including President Joe Biden, for receiving communion despite their support for abortion rights. A teaching document. Hey, U.S. Catholic bishops, I, Angelo Grosso, can give you a teaching document. Do not let pedophiles into your organization. Do not give them wine to give them to young children. And do not let them stay after hours with said children. That's a free teaching document there, you pervs. The decision, vehemently opposed by a minority of bishops, yeah, that's always how it is. The minority is vehemently opposed, but who gives a fuck? It's religion. Came despite appeals from the Vatican for a more cautious and collegial approach to the divisive issue. Oh, go fuck yourself, Vatican. I want to know what you're hiding, Vatican. I want to see all the art. I want to see all the statues, all the paintings. I want to see some shit that I know you got hiding back there. I want to see all that shit from Antiquita, that library of Alexandria that burned down. I know you got some shit in there. And I know you got some quote-unquote biblical artifacts that I want to see. I want to see that Indiana Jones shit. Go fuck yourselves, Vatican. Let's see. Where did I leave off here? And it raises questions of how closely the bishops will be able to cooperate with the Biden administration on issues such as immigration and racial injustice. Who the fuck is asking the Vatican about immigration and racial injustice? Do you think they give a fuck about immigrants? Do you think the Vatican is bringing in refugees? Fuck no, unless they're little boys. Racial injustice? I'm pretty sure Catholics didn't allow blacks in churches until the 1970s. The result of the vote, 168 in favor and 55 against, good God, they were in the minority, was announced Friday near the end of a 3-day meeting of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops that was held virtually. How the fuck can you have a 3-day virtual meeting with a bunch of U.S. Catholic bishops? I mean, if there was even a butter knife, I would plug it in my fucking eyeballs. The bishops had cast their votes privately on Thursday after several hours of impassioned debate. You know what? God, they're cunts. They're the biggest cunts of this week. I don't know who is worse. The Catholic Church or Nestlé. I don't know. The sanctity of life means nothing to them unless they're talking about it. In practice, they don't give a fuck. The only reason they care about unborn babies is because they can fuck them later. Okay. I know. I've been joking a lot about child fucking on this one, but I can't help it when I talk about the Catholic faith. It's just, it's ridiculous. You have to be a real ignoramus to look the other way on this. That's my point, okay? If you're still going to Mass, you really got to look at yourself, and not just yourself and your God. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I good? Am I good with this? Anyway, let's move on, please. Oh, but before my head explodes, let's move on to the final topic here for politics. What the hell exactly is critical race theory? I'm sure those of you that follow the news have heard about critical race theory, CRT as it's abbreviated, and you kind of have an understanding of it like I do, but then you hear people just go out of their fucking minds against it, calling it the biggest systematic racism they would ever have in schools, and it teaches children to be to have divides, to separate from one another, and all this shit. And I thought, well, geez, I just thought it was a better teaching of our history, of how it wasn't all, happy Indians and roses out here. I thought it was just explaining history through a contextual lens and showing that here's what we did, here were some good things, here were some bad things, here we currently are, and here are some things we still need to work on, that we all can agree on. Like, we still have racism, we still have police brutality, we still have wealth inequality, and you can kind of teach about each one of those subjects and showcase the geopolitical history in relevance to America. And that's what I thought America critical race theory was. But you would have thought that it's teaching all white kids that they're the devil, and that black and kids, well, specifically black kids, but kids of color, should treat the white kids like shit. I've heard that from some of my Republican conservative friends. And I'm thinking, where the fuck did they hear that from? Oh, not a surprise. Trump, Tucker Carlson, and Fox News. So, I vaguely remember hearing Trump rail against it, but I just thought, oh, okay, he's just being racist and stupid on purpose. He's only probably has 30% support on this issue. But I'm looking now, and it looks like it's 60-40 here for it, to my understanding. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong reports here. I mean, I know Idaho is the most current state that kind of did something about it, and here's what they did. The SPN, which is the Social Policy Network, a very conservative think tank, called the Idaho Freedom Foundation another one. Those two organizations developed significant clout in the Idaho legislature in recent years with its hard-edged culture war tactics. Legislators defy the Idaho Freedom Foundation wishes at their peril. They therefore paid close attention when IFF called for legislation this year banning CRT indoctrination in Idaho public schools. Idaho's State Board of Education and teachers were dumbfounded by the allegations that critical race theory existed in the public schools and that kids were being indoctrinated. Local school boards, which oversee educational operations, were equally mystified by the charges. Even the legislators being urged on by IFF to put a stop to the critical race theory could not produce any credible evidence that it existed in the state of Idaho. Nevertheless, conservatives in the state legislature killed one school funding bill, stopped others in their tracks, and made it known that nothing more would be done to fund education until a bill to combat CRT was passed. A bill drawing some wording from the Trump executive order was cobbled together and passed so that the legislature could get back to work. And I think Florida from DeSantis is also doing something similar. And so this made me really look up critical race theory and think, well, shit, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's more extreme than I thought. I doubted it, but I at least thought, let me give the other side at least benefit of the doubt and let me do a little bit of research. And I did, and I still feel like I'm fairly accurate on this. That is to say that some level of indoctrination does exist depending on who's teaching the curriculum, because asking teachers to not put in their opinions and teaching something like critical race theory is going to be difficult. So you're going to have to, if this ever becomes a law across the country that every public school has to at least offer it in one way or the other. It could be an elective, it could be forced, I don't know. I'm not an expert on education. All I know is I was given a very expensive religious private education, and I thought Christopher Columbus was a hero, Jesus was white, and that the Indians embraced the pilgrims with open arms and taught us how to grow corn. But, you know, we brought illnesses and they gave us illnesses and it just didn't work out in their favor. But you know what? That's what God wanted. White people inheriting the earth. And it wasn't until I was much older, high school, college, and if you remember a podcast or two ago, I lost my shit about me not knowing about the Tulsa massacre until a year or 2 years ago. So my education was shitty at best. So what exactly is critical race theory? It is an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States who seek to critically examine the law as it intersects with issues of race and to challenge mainstream liberal approaches to racial justice. Critical race theory examines social, cultural, and legal issues as they relate to race and racism. And those of you that don't want this taught and think that America really has nothing to apologize for, I don't think you understand your history. I think we should do what the Germans do with World War II. You need to acknowledge the atrocities, acknowledge everything that happened, every detail, every death, everything. Acknowledge it. And in certain cases, pay tribute to it. But at the end of the day, you have to say, that was then, this is now. It's fucking awful what's happened. But where we are now, let's use the history as a learning tool so that we don't do similar things in the present day or in the future. I think we can all agree on that. You can look at the Trail of Tears, for example, arguably one of the worst things that this country has ever done. You can acknowledge that it was horrific. You can acknowledge that even at that time in history, it was seen as pretty goddamn brutal. But acknowledge it. acknowledge that it happened, learn about it, and then say in 2021, here's where we currently are with similar issues in the United States, around the world. What are we doing? Where can we grow? Things like that. Now, to my knowledge, we don't have anything like the Trail of Tears happening, but you could maybe use that as a teaching tool to look at what's happened in the Standing Rock reservation a couple of years ago at that fucking pipeline. I think I got the name of the reservation right. But my point being, you can learn from history so that you don't repeat the mistakes. I have a great German friend at work who he just telling me how he was taught about World War II. I think that would fly here, but you got to get over this false flag patriotic bullshit about, oh, I don't want my white little boy learning about slavery. I should be the one to teach him about slavery. No, shut the fuck up. Anyway, let me go back to the definition of critical race theory because I went off the rails there. Critical race theory okay, we don't care about the origination. Blah, 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 blah. Critical race theory sees racism as systematic and institutional, rather than just a collection of individual prejudices. Duh! It also views race as a socially constructed identity. Now that I would have to know more about because I don't know what that means. The theory emphasizes how racism and disparate racial outcomes can be the result of complex, changing, and often subtle social institutional dynamics rather than explicit and intentional prejudices by individuals. In the field of legal studies, critical race theory emphasizes that merely making laws colorblind on paper may not be enough to make the application of the laws colorblind. Colorblind laws can be applied in racially discrimination ways, intersectionality, which emphasizes that race can intersect with other identities such as gender and class to produce complex combination of power and disadvantages. And this is a key concept in critical race theory. I don't know how you could argue with that. Look at policing. On paper, policing should not be racist. In application, oh baby, is it racist. Now that's not to say all police officers are racist, but you sometimes have to uphold racist laws, racist orders, whatever you want to say. Academic critics of critical race theory argue that it relies on social constructionism, elevates storytelling over evidence. Ooh, yeah. The conservatives love evidence and reason. Yeah, another thing that the conservative evangelicals love, reason and facts. Yeah, how is that working out for global warming? Yeah, fucking doofs. Rejects the concepts of truth and merit. Oh yeah, America has great merit. Yeah, we deserve all this. And opposes liberalism. Whatever. Since 2020, conservative lawmakers in the United States have sought to ban or restrict critical race theory instruction along with other anti-racism programs because there is no racism. Critics of the efforts to ban it say critical race theory has been unduly elevated in importance, that its contents have been misrepresented, and that the goals behind these efforts is to silence broader discussions of racism, equality, social justice, and the history of race. Now, my 2 cents is this. I vaguely remember, I'm guessing it was in Florida because all the crazy shit usually happens in Florida. A teacher was separating children by race and was making the white kids slaves and having the kids of color be slave masters, and was really showing white kids what it was like to be a slave. They were getting mock whips. There was mock sales. I mean, in that example, I could say, yes, do you really need to have kids separate like that and actually go through a live reenactment of slavery, of a slavery sale? My knee-jerk reaction is to say, fuck no. But I'm not an educator. What I would maybe do as an educator is not separate kids by race, which is not what critical race theory does, to my understanding. It just teaches them, hey, white people have done a lot of crazy shit. We're getting better. There's been progress. Let's go over some progress, but let's go over things we need to do better that all people can agree on. Right, the left, the far right, the far left, those fucking idiot libertarianisms, and those commies that think Marx had all the right answers. Yeah, there's some issues that we can all agree on, okay? But what it gets boiled down to is who the fuck knows what exactly the curriculum will be until the curriculum comes out, and then you can kind of comb over it with a fine-tooth comb. Is that the saying? Comb over it with a fine-tooth comb? Go over it with a fine-tooth comb? You know what I'm saying. You're making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Jesus, I am just rambling. I think I've repeated my stance on critical race theory at least 5 times now. So you get my point. I'm for critical race theory as long as the curriculum isn't batshit crazy. Okay, let's leave politics out here before I go take a bath at the microwave. Okay, I think it's almost time that we wrap this baby up because I'm having chicken piccata tonight, and it's going to get cold just sitting on the kitchen counter. I love me some chicken piccata. I love me some chicken crabbolo, chicken parmesan. My mouth is watering just thinking of all the amazing baked chicken dishes that us Italians are so good at making. But, you know, I've been switching up my diet recently. I've been having dessert in the afternoon. I know. Shocking, right? I don't want to be called a Renaissance man, but I'm close. See, the problem with me and my eating habits is I really don't want to have anything too sweet or sugary too late in the evening. And it's always a big thing for me to cut out the sweets, around 8 o'clock. But sometimes your boy gets the munchies, and I would say the mass majority of the time I fight valiantly against the munchies and I win. But every now and then I have a breakdown and I think to myself, well, let me have something really quick here. And I try to make it something somewhat healthy. Seaweed bites. I got some Peruvian corn. I got some olive oil popcorn. I try to keep healthy shit around the house. Not saying popcorn is healthy, but it's healthier than grabbing a few dark chocolate peanut butter cups or a fucking ice cream cookie sandwich. So I've been changing it up and having said ice cream cookie sandwich or 4 to 5 dark chocolate peanut butter cups sometime around 1 or 2 o'clock. And then when dinner time comes around, 6 o'clock usually, sometimes 7, sometimes 5, depending on what I'm doing. That is not a huge meal. If I do eat a huge meal, it's always in the morning, so then I have all day to work it off, which I do with this fucking heat and the weather and all the chores I'm doing outside in my beautiful yard. Point being, I get the sweets out of the way in the afternoon, so I don't have to deal with that shit later in the evening when I'm hankering for some sweets, and then I can tell myself, you fat fuck, you already had ice cream or peanut butter cups or whatever. You've already had that today, so you're good. Go upstairs, brush your teeth, brush your tongue, brush your lips. People know you have to brush your lips, right? Your lips get coated and dead skin and all that disgusting shit. All you need to do is take your toothbrush, wet it, and then just all over your lips. Sometimes it hurts, but it feels so good when you're putting lip balm on afterwards, which, by the way, if you're in the market for some lip balm, check out that motherfucker bee one. The bee? Burt's Bees? The motherfucker with the bees. You know what I'm talking about? The yellow ones with the old hippie on it with his big-ass beard. I think it is Burt's Bees. Or is it Bees Burt's? Whatever, you know who I'm talking about. That's my jam. He's my homie. I haven't seen the Netflix doc on him yet. I think he's still alive. But anyway, my point being, if you are concerned about gaining weight or just healthy eating, but like me, you have to have something sweet every day. You deserve a treat. Every day you should get a treat. And my problem is I love treats and I think I deserve a treat all the time. I do something so small, but I accomplish something. I say to myself, well, I need a treat. And then I get my work done for the day. Oh, I need a treat. I go exercise. Oh, I need a treat. I go mow the yard. Oh, I need a treat. So it's been a constant battle for me to have only one treat a day. And now, I gotta tell you, I'm sleeping a little bit better. I'm not getting the nighttime gas, farties, like I sometimes do. Instead, it's usually a pretty quiet, chill evening. I'm not gonna lie to you, though, and tell you I don't miss a late night dark chocolate peanut butter cup because I'm an American and I love these things. That's what I'm patriotic about. Put dark chocolate peanut butter cups on the American flag as a replacement for the fucking stars. Everyone would love that. Who doesn't like dark chocolate peanut butter cups? If they don't like them, get out of this country. And on that happy note, I think I'm going to let everyone go because this chicken piccata is a calling my name. And let's wrap things up. I love ya. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And see you guys around the bend. While editing this podcast, I caught a hilarious mistake I made saying that Tom Brady went to go play with the Denver Broncos. So before I release this out to the public where I know I will get shit on, deservedly so, Tom Brady, of course, went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and won a Super Bowl. And as far as I know, there is no alleged cheating related to that Super Bowl victory. But maybe time will tell. One last final peace out. See you guys on the next